All right, everybody, it's 4 o'clock, so I thought I would go ahead and get started. I am open to questions at any point throughout the presentation, so if you want to just put your questions in the chat room, I will be happy to answer them either then or later on, depending. There aren't too, if it gets to be too many people, I might save all the questions to the end, but right now I think it'll be manageable. So. My name is Robin Cole, and I am the alternate format manager in the Office of Accessible Education at Stanford University. Whoops, I muted myself accidentally. I was intending to start the video. So this session is about writing effective alternative text. And as I said, I am the alternate format manager in the Office of Accessible Education at Stanford. Sorry. So the Office of Accessible Education is charged with making sure that students have the appropriate accommodations for their disabilities, both academic and housing. And I specifically manage the assistive technology that we have and our alt format production. So we make sure that students have educational materials in a format that's accessible to them. That might mean a doc file, it might mean an accessible or tagged PDF. It could mean tactile graphics. Those are like image graphs or charts that are raised up so that a person can feel the content rather than reading it. Often it's HTML, which includes MathML. So that would be for subject matter like computer science or mathematics or physics. Of course, we do Braille as well too for the students that are Braille readers. The format that we choose depends on the student and the subject matter. So there is no, we do this for everything. It just depends on what the particular situation requires. So what is alternative text? This is a definition from WebAIM that's kind of pretty accurate, I think. A textual alternative to non-text content in web pages and documents. In our work, we work primarily in documents. We're not web creators, web content creators. So, but the concepts are exactly the same. So it doesn't really matter whether you're doing it on a web page or within a document. Who needs alternative text? Individuals that are blind, colorblind, and those with other visual kinds of impairments. Things that you might not think about is people with certain learning disabilities that have trouble accessing content visually, individuals with head injuries, trauma, certain cognitive disabilities sometimes are better accessing information through words than they are visually, auditory learners, aging population it's sometimes helpful for, and another category that we often forget about is people that are trying to minimize their data usage by turning off images. So if those images convey content, they need to have alternative text for those users too. So where do you start when you're writing alternative text? Here's kind of the outline, is you summarize what you see in one sentence or more sometimes. Keep it neutral and informative. Use proper grammar, punctuation, and spelling. Avoid acronyms and symbols. And if the image includes text, include that text in the alt text. There's a misconception that goes around that screen readers can read text in an image, and that is not true. So if that image is a photo of a flyer, an image of a flyer or something, that text that's contained in that image needs to be in the alt text. So best when to stop. So because this is a case where concise is useful. Best practice is 125 characters or the length of a tweet. Screen reading software like JAWS default pauses after 250 characters, but alt text can be longer if it's something very complicated or the audience is very specialized or depending on how it's going to be used. Context is critical for alt text. Here's a picture of a stadium that is mostly empty. You might see there's a couple people there. So if we didn't have any context at all for this image, because it was just an image that was on a page and we didn't know anything about what it was trying to convey, the alt text would be very simple. A mostly empty stadium. But let's say that this image is instead in an article about turnout for track tryouts. Well, then the alt text could be Harvard Stadium with 2 lone runners bounding up the steps, because it could indicate that the turnout was very poor. Or what if it's on a page about renovation projects at Harvard? Then the thing you might want to point out in the alt text is the Harvard Stadium with cracked concrete pillars. So you can see that context is absolutely critical. And sometimes the hardest thing, because it implies reading the text around that alt text. So the question you want to answer is, why was the image included? Is many times, especially on web pages and marketing materials, the images are decorative only. They're not conveying any actual content. And in a decorative image, you don't need to describe it. It can be indicated as decorative, or alt text can be blank. But if it's part of an article or something, then you need to read the surrounding text to determine why what that image is trying to convey. So let's take a picture, consider this painting of George Washington at Valley Forge. Was the point of this image in the document to show winter in Valley Forge? Or maybe was it to show that Lafayette and Washington were at Valley Forge? Because the answer will affect the alt text that you write. If it's to show Valley Forge in winter, then the alt text could be the first thing that I wrote there. Valley Forge in winter. The landscape is snow covered and soldiers are sitting by the open road with a campfire. On the other hand, if the point that you've figured out by reading the text around it is that the alt text is that the image was included to demonstrate that they were at Valley Forge, then the alt text might be Washington and Lafayette on horseback talking to soldiers in snow at Valley Forge. So you can see how important context is. That's really the key point, the most important point. The next thing to think about is to consider your audience. You want to know who your target reader is, what their age is, what their education level is, and what the expected subject matter expertise is. So if you're writing descriptions for lay people, that should be simpler than if you're writing descriptions of an image that is going to be on a web page that's meant, or a document that's meant for experts in their field. So here's an example. This is a picture that was taken from a introduction to a chapter in a history book for young children. Therefore, the alt text is relatively simple. This is a photograph of the Louvre Museum in France at night. The entrance to the museum is a large pyramid made of glass. If this image had been used in an article about something to do with architecture, the alt text might be about the structure of the pyramids, or maybe the lighting. Or it could be, if it was something about the contrast of old and new history, then it might be about new modern pyramids compared to the older building in the background. So that's where the context matters, but you want to have the language be appropriate to the document that it's within, and the audience that you're writing, that the document is for. So this is a case of be concise. More is not better. You want to be succinct in your alt text. You don't need to repeat information that's in the surrounding text, and include color only if it's significant. So in this picture here I have of the orbital paths of the planets around the sun. Are the colors of the orbital path significant? Well, we don't know that until we read the text, but probably not. It's probably just visually distinguishing between the different orbital paths. But a quick read of the surrounding text has determined they're not, that those colors are not important, so they don't need to be mentioned. And nor have the names of the planets been mentioned, so it's good to list those in the alt text. The orbiting paths of the 8 planets in our solar system around the sun: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So notice that all the proper punctuation in this. It ends with a period. It has dashes, commas, everything, so that the screen readers will read that correctly. They put a little bit of a pause after a comma, pause after a period. So that's, punctuation is important. You want to be objective in your alt format text. I just saw this question from Aaron about, should alt text be simple if there's caption text that is descriptive? Yeah, you don't need to repeat what's in the caption, or if the text around the image, if the text around the image describes the image, you don't need to repeat that. The alt text could be, if you want to, something like, see described in text, or if it's there in the caption, you can just leave the alt text blank. Did that answer your question, Aaron? Probably, since I have everybody muted. So be objective.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Be objective. Describe only what you see, just physical appearances, and not any kind of possible conclusions that might be able to be drawn or intentions. We don't want to analyze or interpret the material. We want to allow readers to form their own opinions, just like sighted people would. You look at the picture, you form your own opinion. That's the objective with alt text too. So here I wrote two different alt texts, one that is pretty subjective, the second one, a puffin standing on a filthy rock while defecating. The filthy puts a tone of, judgment on there, and a much more neutral objective description is a puffin bird with white lictord projecting from its tail end stands on a rocky mound covered by white excrement. A little bit longer, but it is objective. There's no judgment there whatsoever. So this image came from a geology website discussing various events that led to the acid erosion of rock formations. And the other thing that's important here is that in the more complete alt text is I said a puffin bird, because not everyone will maybe know what a puffin is. So it's good to put that in there, a puffin bird like that. Sorry, I have to click back in here. Focus on meaning. What you really don't want to do in writing alt text is describe the appearance of symbols. So you might not be able to see, but that big yellow sun-like thing has a plus sign in the middle of it, or excuse me, on the left-hand side, the little one has a plus sign. And you want to say, instead of saying a ball labeled with a plus sign, call it a positron. At the bottom, the squiggly arrow labeled with a funky Y, that's a gamma ray, and call it a gamma ray. So if you don't know what the things are in the image, find somebody who does. Use a subject matter expert. Don't just try to describe things on your own. Find somebody who knows what those things are called, or look it up or whatever, so that you can be accurate in your description and not trying to describe things in a really funky way. Sometimes with art stuff, you have to be a little bit funkier, but for things that have a defined name, you want to use it where you can. You want to go from the general to the specific. So start with high level content and then drill down into details. So this map, this image of a map was found in an art history book that introduces the concept of using recycled materials to produce art. So if I'm going to read aloud the alt text that's here, a map of the United States made out of recycled license plates. This recycled map is about 5 feet wide, with each state represented by license plate cutouts from the respective state. Large states such as Texas and California are made of one or more colorful metal license plates, while smaller New England states are represented by just a few inches of their license plate. That alt text paints a really clear picture of what this image is: the scale, the size, probably the relative size of the big states, California and Texas versus, say, Rhode Island. I mean, I think if you could shut your eyes, if you're a sighted person, and listen to that, you could probably get a fairly clear idea of what that looks like. So that's an excellent example of alt text. Yes, it's longer than 125 characters, but there isn't a lot of superfluous content here. And it is really describing it, painting a picture really, really well. Tone and language is really important. You want to use active verbs in the present tense, check your spelling, grammar, and punctuation, write out abbreviations and symbols. A lot of symbols, especially in math and science, are not necessarily read well by screen readers. So it's good to write those out if you don't know that, if it's not in the context of a math book or a science book or something like that, so that it's just not running into, it'll just skip over a symbol that it doesn't know. So in alt text, best practice is to spell out gamma and not use the Greek letter for it, for instance. And use descriptive language that adds a meaning. Call it a map instead of an image. Call it a photo instead of an image. And if it's just, you don't even need to put the word image. But if it is a photograph, you want to identify it as a photograph, or it's a map, identify it as a map. So this particular image was from a book about national parks in the United States. And the photo was taken right before, right after a violent storm, or right before, I'm not sure which one. So the alt text here describing a photograph of blue sky peeking through gray storm clouds is kind of appropriate, because that's the tone of the language around, that was around that alt text. So we want to match the tone as much as possible, and avoid abbreviations. You'll notice that September is spelled out. That's so that the screen reader will pronounce it all the way, September, and not just say sept. Screen readers are literal, and they read what they see. They don't know that things are abbreviated and should be spoken out loud, or should be read as the full pronunciation, like a sighted reader would. And yes, this is an incomplete sentence, but it's accurate and sufficient to describe it. So specialized content can be kind of tricky. Graphs, if you can summarize the graph because it's just meant to show a trend or something, you can do that. If not, you want to provide the data in a table with row and column headings. Venn diagrams, you know what those are? Those are the kind of diagrams where you have a circle and another circle, one overlaps the other, and it's showing the place where the sets intersect. Focus on the data, not what it looks like. So you want to give a summary about that. Flowcharts can become nested lists or outlines. That can be kind of tricky to do, but that is a logical way to do a flowchart. And then I thought, I know this went faster than I thought it would, but that's okay. I thought it might be kind of interesting to try writing some alt text. So if you guys want to, anybody who wants to, in the group chat, if you want to write some alt text, and let's kind of take a look and see what that looks like. So here's an image. Does somebody want to, or several people, anybody who wants to, try writing some alt text for them, that image? Yeah, Aaron, I like your alt text. That's right. You probably want to say hippopotamus in water with his mouth wide open, and maybe just even say that just the head is visible. Head of hippopotamus emerging from water with mouth wide open. Maybe some information about the teeth. That could be important, that he's got big teeth showing. That's something that you could determine by looking at the text around the image as to why it was important. But yeah, short and sweet, that's exactly right. And in the chat window, I didn't see a period, but if you were actually writing alt text, you'd want to put the period there. What about this one? Anybody want to take a stab at that one? Hi, Jatian. Yes. Yeah, you probably do want to mention the water. The water is the majority of you don't have to use the scientific name unless the text around the picture is using the scientific name. If he's referred to whatever his whole hippopotamus name is in scientific lingo, then yes. But otherwise, no, use what the text used. So, and I said to Aaron earlier that you could spell out hippo to hippopotamus, but if the text describes it as a hippo, it could be a hippo. And Carol, I see your point that it's hard without context. That's exactly right. Yeah, I think that what Cerise wrote there, the word Florida written in beach sand in all capitals with 2 sea star skeletons below letters works. I don't know that it's important that it's in all capitals. I probably wouldn't do that. I would probably just write the word Florida drawn in beach sand with 2 sea star skeletons below letters. The word Florida written out in sand, that works too. Yep, exactly. Just simple descriptions. Without context, it's really hard to write alt text. So that's really probably the biggest lesson. Context is critical, because the point of this might be the smooth sand. We don't know. It might be the fact that it's Florida drawn on the thing. It might just be a decorative image on a page about Florida too, that's not conveying any sort of content whatsoever. I don't know. And Rachel, yeah, Florida hand drawn in the sand, right? Maybe the sea stars could be important, so I would include those. I'm not sure. We don't know without context. And then the last image I have was this one. Somebody want to take a crack at that one? Again, without context, this is a, yeah, the balancing on tightrope with city backdrop. That's almost exactly what I wrote, except instead of saying city backdrop, I wrote above city. Close enough, you know. And maybe you want to say man in business suit, and yeah, that works. That's great. So the idea is you're just describing what you're seeing. We're not using words like precariously balanced, because we don't really know that. You know, it's not over in New York. We don't know that for sure. Well, this is kind of a blurry image, but we don't know that. We don't know what city it is. So we're just describing what we see. Yeah. All right, well, I should have practiced this a little bit more and determined how long this was going to take. That went, oh, it's New York. Thank you. Okay, great. I didn't know that was, and yes, Carol, I like your stock market crash. That's exactly, unless that's what the text says around the image, that's not the way that I would write the alt text. So my last slide here is just some takeaways. Context is key, as we have determined from writing a little bit of alt text. You want to know your target audience. Is it children? Is it adults? Is it lay people about, say, nuclear physics? Or is it nuclear physicists for nuclear physics? And then you would write very different alt text. Be concise, be objective, focus on the meaning, so don't get caught up in the practice of just trying to describe symbols. Find out what they are and use their names. Go from the general to the specific. Match the alt text tone and language to the text, and seek out subject matter experts for things that you don't know. So I'm reading the question here about you were saying to be objective in your descriptions. In a situation where you have images on a marketing webpage, do you think there's room for interpretation and storytelling? No, that's not our job as people writing alt text. Now, that would be the job for the content creator, writing the article around it. But for the alt text, it should be objective. It's just, what do you see? And let the reader draw their own conclusions about how that fits into the text around it. But many images that are used in marketing are not there to convey content. They're to convey a mood or to be visually interesting. And those are just decorative images that don't need alt text. So it's really if the image is conveying content, and then what is the content that the image is conveying? And that's the question. For really complicated materials, you often have to go back to the author of the material. In the case of what we do at Stanford, we go back to professors and TAs if it's something that we can't figure out. Why is this in this book? What is it trying to convey? We'll go back to subject matter experts and say, ask that question. How should this be described? What's it going to, why is it included? That's often a question you want to ask, is why is this image here? Many times in marketing materials, it's strictly what I would call visual fluff, just to draw attention or to look interesting or to make the page look pretty for a sighted person. A lot of times on websites, there's banners that have, a lot of Stanford websites have banners that are pictures of buildings and stuff that they're not conveying information unless it's maybe on the site about that particular building. So. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with you was just some additional resources. Diagram Center, which is a part of Benetech's, has a great resources, and most of my examples came from the Diagram Center. And WebAIM has great techniques for alt text writing too. So, so I'm gonna maybe, are there any other questions that anybody has? Put them in the chat room, or I can unmute. What would? Yeah, it's kind of fun to practice writing alt text, to find some weird images and think about how you would describe them without being judgmental, without drawing conclusions. That there's an art there. That's the final thing I want to say. This is an art, not a science, because it is so contextual. It is so audience dependent, and you're guessing many times as to what the point of the image was. You know, if you have time, to Jatian's question, if you have time to describe decorative images, great, but it's not mandatory by industry practice. You know, decorative images, you could just say photo of Stanford campus. So it's photo of Stanford main quad. You know, photo of mother holding baby, whatever it might be, very brief. Don't draw any conclusions and keep it like that. You know, but if you're crunched for time, decorative image, and absolutely anything like little swirlies or kind of fancy lines or anything like that don't need any sort of description. Just it would be if it's an image or a drawing or a cartoon. If it's a cartoon, you can describe the cartoon. If it's a, oh gosh, what are the kind of things that you see sometimes? You know, pictures of, like if it's sometimes we see lecture slides for classes and the first one is wake up, good morning. And maybe that has a picture of the sun rising. We usually don't do alt text for those, but you could, and it could just be image of sunrise.
How about images of profiles, like headshots? You just put the person's name in?
Yep, just the person's name. Absolutely, that's all that's required. No description of what they look like, just a person's name. Sometimes you see in articles or pages about famous people, you know, a photo of George Washington, or a photo of, well, or a photo of a portrait of George Washington, or photo of someone, and you can just say photo of Donald Trump, a photo of whoever it might be. And if it is two well-known people that are shaking hands or something like that, you don't want to just say two people shaking hands. You want to say photo of Barack Obama shaking hands with Donald Trump. You know, if they're famous, readily recognized people, or readily recognized people in the particular industry or subgroup or category that the content is written for. Any other questions?
I'll definitely say thank you. You've given me a lot to think about.
Yeah, you know, alt text is important. There's nothing worse than coming across images that don't have a description, and then they don't know if it's just something that was omitted or if it had content that was important. So even at a minimum, if you're not, you know, in a document, you can tag the image as decorative. I think it's nicer on a web page or something to say decorative image, decorative, decorative, decorative. Rather, at least they know that it wasn't overlooked then.
But I thought screen readers skipped it if
yeah, they do.
empty alt.
But you know, other people might be talking about the picture, something like that. I don't know. That's a style question. Screen readers do skip it if the alt text is just blank. But you know, it kind of depends on how you see the document or the page being used.
I actually had one woman who was blind who did like it when you had some kind of description of the image.
Yeah, it can be kind of minimal. I mean, it's probably a little bit more inclusive to do that, but just a question of timing sometimes. Describe animated graphics, like a GIF of a cat going in and out. Is that what you mean by animated graphics, Jetian?
Yes, or sometimes a lot of, I don't know if you've heard of this Gliffy things where it's supposed to be a joke.
Oh yeah. You know, again, the question is, why is it there? Is it just to draw attention to something? then we probably would skip over it. On the other hand, if the text is about that GIF or the animated GIF or the glyphy or whatever, then yes, we would describe it. But it's kind of really hard to know, right? Because there's so many memes and things out there now, and if you don't have all the cultural references, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but you might have to go figure it out a little bit. Anybody else have anything, any challenges you've faced with alt text? Or successes, wins?
You know, the context thing is challenging now that I'm thinking about that, because we use a CMS, and so the image gets uploaded to the CMS once, and somebody fills out alt text, and then that gets repopulated wherever that image is used.
Yeah. And that alt text may not be relevant for the second, third, and 50th time.
Yeah.
So it is something for people to think about when you're building web pages and stuff. Is the alt text appropriate to my use of this image? You know, just because it's filled in doesn't mean the job's done.
You might actually upload the image again and put the alt text that you'd need.
Yeah, that's true.
Edit that, yeah. Yeah, exactly, because the context is critical.
Well, and for us, our website, we're kind of updating to Drupal 8, and that's going to have this media library where all of the kind of assets, like from a web speed and bandwidth perspective, like it's better to not re-upload images over and over. So like we'll have one image in the media library that can be used in multiple places, but then I think that what I understand is the alt text will live in the media library with that image. So the image would in theory have the same alt text no matter where it was appearing. And in some cases, maybe it's being used decoratively, and so you wouldn't want to show it, you know, and in other places I could imagine it's actually like the picture of a faculty member that's being talked about, in which case, I don't even know if you describe faculty member profiles because you use the name there, but basically I worry a lot about this for the next build of our website, because I think that we're going to end up with a lot of the same alt text being used around the site, and it won't be context specific.
Right, right. Yeah, I think it's something to really, really think about and educate as you're working with your designers about that. Is, you know, is that image, is the alt text the default image of Stanford Quad or whatever it might be, really why you're putting that image there? Or is it rather because you want to show how spacious it is, or that it's in front of the church, or something else? So you really have to think about, why is this image being used, and what's it trying to convey? It's hard to do for somebody else's work, much easier to do if you're the content creator, because you have some idea about that. It's much harder to do when you're taking somebody, like for our work, we're remediating documents after the fact, whether it be a book or lecture slides or problem sets or whatever it might be. We're often doing that after it's been created, and we're given the source file and the PDF, and we have to do that afterwards. It's not so bad when we're talking to the professors and getting, you know, we can say to them, hey, why is this image on this slide? But if it's a journal article or a magazine article, for a while back, we were doing a lot of work for stuff for the business school, and those books tend to have lots of images in them, and it's not always clear why they're there, and we couldn't go back to the author in any kind of timely fashion to find out about the image. You just do the best you can.
Robin, do you ever have to describe like a complex life cycle, say the water, the carbon cycle?
Like an infographic kind of a thing? Is that what you're referring to?
Sure, yeah. I'm thinking like professor slides, you know, they're just explaining the whole process of, I don't know, the virus getting...
You know, sometimes that takes a lot of really critical kind of thought. Many times, if it's a life cycle thing, that could be brought into a table or like a flow chart, right? So you have to kind of think about that. But yeah, we do describe those kind of things, and you might transform it from the image of, I'm thinking about an image of like the ocean and then evaporation going into clouds and precipitation coming back down. Well, that could be a flow chart of exactly that. It doesn't have to be described visually, but ocean, and then, you know, it's flowing down, well, up into evaporation, and then down into precipitation. That's the order of events, right? That's that cycle. So, you know, we often convert things into tables, and sometimes you can take like an infographic, can start with a very general and bring it down into, like, think of it like an outline. So you have those three things, and maybe there's information in there about the precipitation cycle that could go as the subheadings in that outline. It's definitely an art rather than a science. Anybody else? These are some great questions, guys. I appreciate that. And I hope it's something that that you can really kind of think about as I think most of this group is probably doing web design, but when you're thinking about posting images on web pages, think about why they're there and what they're trying to convey, and answering those questions with your alt text. And people that are data constricted will appreciate you using less images.
Oh, Robin, if you want to, you can upload your deck to the webpage for your session.
Oh, I'm happy to. Okay, I will look at that right after this and do that.
We're also recording it, and we'll probably get those up on YouTube in the next month or so.
Okay, well, that sounds really good. Are those going to be captioned when you put them on YouTube?
That's the reason I say a month and not a week.
Perfect.
We tend to read the Google captions that happen automatically and clean them up.
Yeah, gotcha. Perfect. That's great. All right, anything else? Terrific. Well, thank you all for attending, and thank you. And I hope to, I didn't put my email in here, but I will before I put these slides up on the deck in case anybody has any further questions. I'm happy to, I'll put my email in the deck.
Thank you. This was really helpful.
Terrific. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Have a good weekend. Stay safe and healthy.
All right, bye.